Good morning, everyone. This is Ms. G. Blackfair again with the Division of Long-Term Services and Supports. I manage the HOPE waiver here at LTSS. Thank you for joining us today for our call on assisted living billing on the CMS 1500 form, transitioning from billing on the UB04. Today we have in the room with us myself, Ms. G. Blackfair, Leslie Lowe, Chelsea King with Medicaid, Shannon Schweitzer with LTSS, Amanda Van Balen with DHS Budget, and Lisa Lee with Medicaid. We are going to go ahead and get started here. Just a couple things before we get started. The presentation is being recorded today. We do encourage you to ask questions if you have any through the Q&A within the Skype. You can also hit #6 to unmute your line if you want to answer or ask a question by phone. Just a reminder, too, that we did have a similar presentation in January regarding billing on the CMS 1500. We have made some updates to the PowerPoint, and that was sent out, I believe, last week, as well as a Q&A question and answer document. We will be making updates to that after today's webinar if we do have additional questions. With that, we also sent out a survey link to have assisted living providers complete a survey in SurveyMonkey regarding their readiness for billing on the CMS 1500, effective for dates of service on or after February 1st. And so we do encourage you to get online and complete that survey so that we can determine where a provider's at with the ability to bill on the CMS 1500, and so that we can really help if you don't think you're going to be ready by that time, that we can do what we can to assist you to be ready so that you can get paid for those services provided on or after February 1st, 2018. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. As mentioned, today we'll be talking about billing on the CMS 1500, effective for dates of service on or after February 1st, 2018. Living center providers must begin billing on the CMS 1500 claim form in place of the UB04 claim form. The goal of this webinar today is really to explain the reason for this change, as well as to educate assisted living providers on how to bill utilizing the CMS 1500 claim form. There are several reasons for this change. It's primarily, though, due to some recent updates to federal requirements for the UB04 claim submissions. We're hoping that this will really result in some positive changes for providers billing on the CMS 1500 form. It does eliminate the requirement to include a referring physician's NPI on the claim form. We are hopeful that it will result in more efficient claims processing. We've also created a separate updated assisted living billing manual to assist providers in the claims process. In addition, the non-institutional claim form, which is the CMS 1500, really does align with state and federal initiatives. The UB04 is really an institutional form, whereas the CMS 1500 is more for home and community-based services. So I'm going to turn it over now to Lisa Lee, who will be talking about how to bill on the CMS 1500 form.
Thank you, Misty. Okay, so first off, you'll start with the CMS 1500 forms. Just to kind of give you a little bit of info, you can get those either online on the government website, at most office places, things like that. You could even download software if needed. These claim forms if you are sending them in, do need to be the red approved claim form. Block 1 up near the top, select Medicaid by placing an X in the open area to the right, and that's all you need to do is do the X. Block 1A, insured ID number. It's just the South Dakota Medicaid recipient identification number, which is the 9-digit number found on the card. Do not include the 3-digit number that follows that 9 digits, as that's just part of when they printed the cards out. Block 2 is the patient's name. You'll need to enter the recipient's last name, comma, first name, and middle initial. Block 21, diagnosis or nature of illness or injury. Always enter 0 in the ICD-10 CM indicator. It will always be 0. And then on the codes following, you're going to enter the codes for the patient's diagnosis or condition. Do not include the decimal point in those codes. Block 22 is the resubmission code. This is only used if you are adjusting or voiding a previously paid claim. If you are adjusting, hit 7 or enter 7, and for a void, you'll need to put the number 8. Then next to it, list the original reference number found on your remittance advice. This will always be the 14-digit claim number. And just a note, you cannot void one line of a claim. It will void or adjust the whole claim. Box 24, use a separate line for each date span. If you're billing on paper and more than 6 date spans are provided in a single calendar month, then you'll need a separate claim form for the 7th or following services to be completed, just because there are only 6 lines on that CMS 1500 for the paper claims. You'll need to enter separately any hospital reserve bed days or therapeutic leave days. Important clarifications have been made regarding how to bill hospital reserve bed days and therapeutic leave days in block 24. You'll need to refer to the Assisted Living Billing Manual for specific instructions. Box 24A, you'll start with the service from date and then go into the service to date. Enter the appropriate date of service in the form of a 6-digit indication. So it'd be October 1st, 17, so 100117, and then same with your through dates. For your hospital reserve bed days, the Assisted Living Center may bill South Dakota Medicaid for a maximum of 5 consecutive days when a recipient is admitted to an inpatient hospital stay. Up to the 5 days may be billed to South Dakota Medicaid per hospitalization. However, they must the recipient must return to the Assisted Living Center for a minimum 24 hours before an additional hospital reserve bed days may be paid. If you're using a hospital reserve bed day for a date span, you will need to be billed with a code 21 in box 24B for that place of service. For therapeutic leave days, Assisted Living Learning Center may bill South Dakota Medicaid for a maximum of the 5 therapeutic leave days per month. It's the therapeutic leave days may be consecutive or non-consecutive. Therapeutic leave days must be billed with a code 12 in 24B for place of service. Also, do not include the recipient's date of discharge or death from either therapeutic leave day or the hospital day. Again, to go over 24B places of service, enter the appropriate place of service code as listed. If it's therapeutic leave, you would enter 12. If they're at the Assisted Living Center, it would be 13. And 21 is used for an inpatient or hospital reserve days. 24D is the procedure code. You will always enter T2031 no matter the place of service. That is the only code that will be allowable for assisted living. The diagnosis pointer code you will put next to the procedure code there in 24E, and that correlates with the diagnosis codes you entered in block 21. And if we move to the next back one, there you go. You'll see how here there's a diagnosis code of F70, and it's at indicator A, so you would just put A in the 24E indicator. 24F is the charges. Enter the provider's usual and customary charge for this service in the unshaded portion. For example, if the usual and customary charge is $50, enter without the $sign 50.00. 24G is dates or units. Enter the number of days that the service was provided for this recipient during the period covered by the dates in block 24A. The units must equal the date of service span. 24I is an ID qualifier. You will always enter ZZ, so zebra, zebra. 24J is taxonomy and rendering provider number. You'll enter 310400000X. Enter the assisted living center MPI number in the unshaded portion. It'll also be the same as the MPI number that will be in 33A. Box 25 is federal tax ID number, the number assigned to the provider by the federal government for tax reporting purposes. Block 28 is total charges. This will actually be the sum of all of your charges in 24F. Again, remember to not include the dollar sign and just put the decimal in there. Note that the recipient's cost share will be calculated by South Dakota Medicaid when the claim is submitted, so you do not need to include that on the claim. Block 31 is your signature. It must be signed by the provider or provider's authorized representative using either handwriting, a typewriter, a stamp, and then you also need to have the date that the form was signed. Block 33 is provider name, address, and zip code. Enter the provider's name and the assisted living center address as shown on your enrollment card. And then next is an example of a claim form that is also found in the assisted billing manual that was sent out to you or online.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Are there any questions that anyone has regarding the information that we've covered so far? Like I said, please feel free to use the question and answer in the Skype webinar or hit #6 on your phone to unmute your line.
I have one. On 31, it says physician or supplier signature. Do we have to take these to the physician and have them sign that each month, or can the facility sign it?
Just the provider needs to sign it for block 31 or an authorized representative. So if your secretary is the one who's submitting the claim forms and she's authorized to submit the claim forms, he or she could sign the claim.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be the physician then?
Nope, it doesn't say physician, it's provider.
Well, this says signature of physician or supplier.
Oh, on the actual claim?
Yeah.
On the actual 1500? Yeah, no, it just needs to be the provider for our instance here.
Okay, so then just whoever's filling the form out in the facility.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, we got a question here. Where should electronic test claims be sent, and how will they know they are test claims? So I believe that information was actually included in the email that was sent out. If for some reason, we also have that information, I think, in the end here in the next couple of slides. We also have contact information, and it's also in the question and answer. So if you happen to not get the email with the information in it, we're going to have the contact information here at the end. You can email us and let us know so we can make sure you get that. That information is addressed within that email that was sent out, as well as the question and answer document.
I have a question. We don't submit our claim forms electronically. We filled out the UB04 on the computer and then printed it off on just regular paper and then mailed them in. How would we do that with these if we have to use the red form?
Do you have a program that you're using, or?
Yeah, we had a UBO4 program that we had, we would go in and we would fill out each individual form, and then we would just save it and then print it off and mail a hard copy into the claims.
You can get a similar program for a CMS 1500 form, and then all you would need to do is just, like I say, go and get the claims, and it'll just print off onto those claims to do it for you.
Well, we have the claim forms, but whenever we print it, it would print black on top of the claim form.
Well, yes, your text is going to be black. We just need the claim forms that are in red. The text does not need to be red.
I understand that, but so then through this program, then it would just automatically fill in the blanks and not print over top of the red then.
Right, yep, exactly. It should align right up into the areas that are needed.
Okay, where would we get that program from?
You can look online for multiple programs for it. Unfortunately, we can't tell you what program to use, as that's up to you guys as providers.
So we would just go under, I guess I don't know where to go under, to find the program at.
If you did a search for CMS 1500 billing programs, it would probably bring up a couple pretty good ones for you.
Okay.
Okay, we do have another question here in the Q&A. Well, it says, on an electronic claim form, 31 will not have a signature. The response to that is in the Q&A.
If you're submitting electronically, your electronic signature is actually already on there because it's verified when you're submitting electronically via the clearinghouse.
Okay, so moving forward then, there will be additional time to ask questions, but it doesn't look like we have any at the moment, so we're going to go ahead and move on to next steps. So assisted living providers should contact the Division of Long-Term Services and Supports with any questions and concerns regarding claim submission on the CMS 1500. Like I mentioned again, we would appreciate your completion of the survey. We did send out an email with that link in there. That'll assist us in assisting you to make sure that you are ready to bill on the CMS 1500 and get paid for your services with dates of service on or after February 1st of 2018. You will also need to update your billing software and or order your CMS 1500 claim forms. So of course we do prefer the claims be electronic if possible. This makes the processing much more, you will get payment much more quickly. So it works out better for you that way too, but if that's not possible for you in order to meet this deadline, you can order those CMS 1500 claim forms, or like Lisa mentioned, most office supply stores also have those that you can get. We would appreciate your participating in testing during the month of actually both January and February. So it would be helpful again for both you and us if you would submit test claims just to ensure that you are able to bill utilizing the CMS 1500 by the deadline of date of service on or after February 1st, 2018. Again, in the email that was sent out, there is information on how you would submit claims for testing, both electronically and paper claims. The next slide just covers some resources that you can access. Again, we also sent out a copy of this PowerPoint in an email, so if you did not receive that for some reason, we'll have some contact information for you to email so you can get that, which is right here. These are the contact information. What you see there, the Medicaid eligibility or claims questions, you should contact the 800 number there. For questions specific to the transition from the UV04 to the CMS 1500, our primary contact is Shannon Schweitzer, so her email is there. You can use her email in order to let us know if you haven't for some reason received this information by email. For questions and concerns regarding clearinghouse, electronic claims submission, or taxonomies, you can contact Chelsea King at the email listed. For information related to the portal, the emails listed there, and then the STRS unit as well. So that concludes the presentation. We have, if you have questions, like I mentioned, you can go ahead and use the Q&A as well as #6 to unmute your line.